While I was sacrificing myself for them, who was taking care of me? Now I'm taking care of myself. The first time I realized my life no longer had meaning was on my birthday. I don't know how I began to realize it, but it was that day. I spent years trying to please my family, doing everything they expected of me, trying to be the good son. But deep down, I knew that no matter how much I dedicated myself, it would never be enough. I was never seen as a human being, as a person with feelings. I was just the provider, the guy who brought money into the house, the guy who paid the bills, and I accepted that, in a way, because it was all I knew. On my birthday, I imagined things could be different. It was a day that, at least for me, held emotional significance. I wanted, even if only for a moment, to be recognized as someone important, someone who deserved to be celebrated. But what happened was exactly the opposite. There was no congratulations, no hugs, not even a smile. Instead, I was treated as if my presence were a burden. My father completely ignored me. My mother, as always, was more concerned with complaining about life. My brothers seemed oblivious to how I was feeling, and that tore me apart. In that moment, I truly understood that to them, I was nothing more than a source of money. I spent hours holding back tears, trying to understand how it had gotten this far. The humiliation was like a blow to my stomach, something that cut me to the core. I wasn't prepared for it. Everything I'd done, all the effort I'd put into being the son they wanted, seemed to have been in vain. The worst part wasn't the lack of a hug, nor the lack of kind words. The worst part was realizing that, deep down, they didn't need me. I was there only because of my responsibilities, not because of the love they felt for me. When I went to my room, emptiness overcame me. I spent the entire night in silence, reflecting on everything that had happened. I remember asking myself what I did wrong. What was it about me that made me so invisible to them? I always put my family first, made sacrifices, gave my best, and yet I couldn't find a place of value in their lives. That night was a turning point. For the first time, I felt it wasn't worth continuing to sacrifice myself for people who didn't even see me as a human being. The pain was profound, but it also gave me clarity. I was tired of submitting, tired of hiding behind an image of perfection that never made me happy. I decided at that moment that I would no longer let myself be treated like this. I no longer needed to prove anything to them. I no longer needed to sacrifice myself for crumbs of affection. I decided to disappear, vanish from their lives without warning, without explanation. I no longer wanted to be the invisible person in the family. I wanted to be free. The hardest part was, without a doubt, the feeling of guilt that haunted me. I was afraid I was doing something wrong, that I was being selfish. I knew my absence would have consequences, but I no longer cared. I needed peace. I needed a break from all that pressure, those demands. Deep down, I also knew that perhaps the only way for them to realize how much I meant to them was to leave completely. If I stayed, I would continue to be the provider, but if I left, maybe they would finally see what they were truly missing. The only person who knew what was going on was my younger brother. He was always different, even on those days. When it seemed like my whole life revolved around the money I brought home, he never treated me like a walking checkbook. He embraced me when I decided to leave home, and he was the only person who truly told me I deserved better. He supported me through everything, and that was what gave me the courage to move forward. Without him, I might not have had the strength to make that decision. When I disappeared, I didn't tell anyone. I simply took what was mine and left. I went far away, to a place where no one knew me. I spent the first few days feeling lost, unsure of what to do with my life, but gradually I understood that this was the only way I could reconnect with myself. I no longer wanted to be the family member who only served to pay the bills and endure the humiliations. I wanted to be a human being with my own needs and feelings. I needed space to breathe and rebuild myself. My brother eventually visited me. He understood the reason for my escape, and in a way, he also felt the pain I felt. But he was there, by my side unconditionally. I saw how their lives fell apart without me. Things began to get complicated financially, and the tension between my parents and siblings increased. I didn't have to do anything to make it happen. Their own neglect, their lack of appreciation, the way they discarded me, caused it all to fall apart. And somehow, that gave me a sense of justice. The worst part was watching everything from afar, unable to intervene. I felt relieved to be free from that pressure. But at the same time, a part of me felt pain seeing the destruction my absence caused. I don't regret making the decision to leave, but in a way, the pain of seeing my family fall apart was something that tormented me. Still, I wouldn't go back. I needed this to grow, to free myself. When my family finally hit rock bottom, that's when I decided to come back. I didn't come back to give them what they wanted. I came back to show them that I would never be used again. I was no longer going to be the hero who helped everyone when things went wrong. I was no longer going to be the one who gave money and received crumbs of affection. I came back to show them that my life was my own, that I wasn't an object or a source of resources for anyone. My transformation wasn't just about leaving home, it was about realizing my worth, understanding that family isn't just about blood. Family is about those who truly care, who see you as a person and not a means to an end. My younger brother was the only one who gave me the support I needed, and it was with him that I found true family. I no longer need validation from others. I learned that the only person who needs to validate me is myself. The most liberating thing about all of this was realizing that I would never allow myself to be used again. I reconnected with myself, with my essence, and it was the best thing I ever did. Today, although I still have some scars, I know I was stronger than I imagined. And life, little by little, has shown me that by moving away from what was hurting me, I found my true freedom. Overcoming this, for me, was knowing that I can be who I am without worrying about pleasing anyone. And I found true family with those who truly welcomed me. The hardest part now, months later, is dealing with the emptiness that remains. I still have memories of the humiliation, the pain, the feeling of being ignored and treated as disposable. But at the same time, I feel an inner peace I never imagined possible. I'm no longer trapped in a life that wasn't mine. I'm no longer trying to fit into a mold that didn't fit me. My days now have more meaning because I finally put myself first. Of course, the pain doesn't disappear overnight. There are times when I wonder if I made the right decision. The weight of guilt still lingers, especially when I think of my mother and father. But I know I did what was necessary. They, deep down, never saw me as someone worthy of respect. And now, watching their disintegration, I can see that my absence forced them to face reality. Sometimes, there's no other way to make someone understand the importance of a human being than by removing their presence. And that's what I did. My brother, the only one who was truly there for me during this time, has also been dealing with the consequences of this decision. He saw everything that happened up close and continues to support me. He, indeed, is my true family. Today, we are stronger together. I realized that when everything fell apart, our relationship grew stronger. And that, for me, is the greatest gift in this whole story. You know, I always believed that family was something built solely by blood ties, that the love expected of them was something that had to be given out of obligation. But today, I understand that true family isn't just about those who share the same genes. Family is those who choose to be by your side, who don't abandon you, who support you in times of pain. And that for me is the people who chose to give me love without needing anything in return. Now all that's left for me is to rebuild my life. It's not easy, I won't lie. The pain still stings at times, and it's like I'm facing a whirlwind of mixed emotions. But I know I'm on the right path. I've learned to value myself and to give importance to the things that truly matter. The rest, anything that doesn't add up, is no longer worth it. I am my own foundation, and that has given me the strength to move forward. Of course, family will always carry an emotional weight in the end. It's not something easy to leave behind, but I realize that when you decide to stop living according to what others expect of you, you begin to find yourself. And that's liberating. It's like a huge layer of oppression has been lifted from your chest, and you can finally breathe. I've found the peace I've been searching for, even though I still have a long way to go. Today, I see clearly that life isn't about pleasing others. It's not about playing the martyr or the savior. Life is about finding what makes you happy, what strengthens you, and that's within each of us. I'm responsible for my own happiness, and I've learned that to be happy, I don't need anyone's approval. I'm no longer the son who only exists when there's something to be done for me. I'm Paulo, someone who found his own voice and finally freed himself from a life that wasn't his. The transformation I experienced didn't happen overnight. It was a long process, full of ups and downs, painful discoveries, but also many moments of clarity. Sometimes life demands that you break with what's hurting you in order to move forward. And although I still feel the pain of loss, I know that by walking away from all that, I gained something I never had before: my freedom. My message to anyone going through something similar is, if you're sacrificing yourself to please others, if you're being ignored and humiliated, know that your life has value. You're not an object. You're not just a provider. You're much more than that. Don't be afraid to step away, to distance yourself, and seek your own peace. True happiness isn't found in pleasing everyone around you. It's within you, and only you can find it. I never thought I'd say this one day, but today I know. The best thing I ever did was walk away from those who didn't value me. And while the path still has its difficulties, the freedom I've found is worth every moment of pain. And in the end, that's what matters. Today, I'm stronger, more aware, and most importantly, happier. Sometimes I still find myself thinking about what happened after I decided to leave. I won't lie, there's a strange feeling of not having had definitive closure with my family. There was no big conversation, no apology, or even an attempt at reconciliation. Everything happened so quietly that on the one hand, it almost feels surreal. But on the other hand, this lack of closure was exactly what showed me that the change I made was the right thing to do. Still, I have my weaknesses. There are times when the weight of guilt returns. I wonder if, perhaps, I could have done something differently, if it would have been possible to salvage it somehow. But when that happens, I remember my own suffering, the humiliation, and how much I allowed myself to be consumed by a relationship that gave me nothing in return. I can't ignore that at many times I was trapped in a vicious cycle, trying to please people who would never understand what it took to treat me as someone worthy of respect and love. But more important than any questions or pain is the gratitude I feel for everything I've experienced. I've learned the hard way that I can no longer allow anyone, not even my own family, to treat me like a second option. I am my priority now, and at the same time, this has given me the strength to begin valuing the relationships that are truly worthwhile. My brother, for example, became someone essential to me. He was the only person who truly cared, who didn't use me, and who saw me as someone worthy of affection and respect. He was what my family never was, and this makes me see the value of genuine friendship and loyalty. I've been making a conscious effort to surround myself with people who respect me. I know it's not easy to find these people, but when you begin to understand your worth, everything changes. I now realize that life is much more than simply filling the spaces others want you to occupy. I'm no longer someone who's always waiting for recognition that will never come. I'm someone who now seeks my own path and who doesn't accept less than what I deserve. The life I'm building now is lighter, more authentic, and has shown me that true freedom comes from within. You don't need grand gestures or radical changes to realize how much your happiness depends on your own choices. I've learned that when you make the decision to walk away from what's hurting you, the weight of other people's expectations begins to dissipate, and by doing so, you finally see that love and happiness don't have to come from outside. They arise from within, and all you need to do is allow yourself to experience them. I'm rebuilding my life, and although there are still moments of loneliness and longing, I know I'm at peace with myself. The pain of the past doesn't disappear completely, but it no longer controls me. I'm no longer a prisoner of a story that wasn't mine, and it's this freedom, this autonomy over my own life that gives me the strength to move forward. Today, I can look back and see everything that happened as part of my process of self-discovery. Every tear, every moment of anguish brought me closer to who I truly am. I don't know what the future holds, but one thing is certain: I will face anything with the certainty that I am capable of following my own path, no longer to please others, but to be truly happy. Life goes on, and now it has a completely different meaning for me. I'm stronger, more confident, and freer than I've ever been before. And if you're going through something similar, know that no matter how difficult it is right now, you have the strength within you to change your story. It doesn't matter what others think of you. What matters is how you see yourself and how you decide to move forward. Ultimately, true overcoming lies in being true to yourself, without fear of losing what no longer serves you. And true family is sometimes closer than we imagine. It may not be formed by blood ties, but by the people who choose to love and support us, without asking for anything in return. I found my true family, and today I finally understand what it means to be free to live my own truth. I think one of the most powerful things I learned throughout this whole process was that often we need to step away to find ourselves. When I was in the midst of that confusion, immersed in pain and frustration, I couldn't see the path ahead. I felt my identity was tied to all those people, all those expectations. I thought my life had to be defined by everything I did for others and not by what I truly wanted for myself. Today, I see how lost I was within myself, how I allowed my happiness to depend on recognition that would never come. And by distancing myself, by cutting the ties with what was suffocating me, I could finally look at myself without the weight of so many external expectations. It wasn't easy, of course. The loneliness, the fear of making the wrong decision, the mourning for what I left behind, all of this was very difficult to face. But at the same time, something inside me began to ignite, as if I were finally breathing after years underwater. Today, I see myself differently. I understand that I can be more than the roles imposed on me, that my life doesn't have to revolve around being the good son or the provider. I am a person with dreams, fears, desires, and a life of my own worth living. Sometimes the biggest challenge isn't changing circumstances, but changing how we see ourselves within them. When you begin to see yourself differently, the world around you begins to change too. I'm not perfect, and I know my story isn't 100% resolved yet. There are days when the pain of the past still lingers. There are moments when I miss it deeply, and I find myself wondering what could have been different. But what I've learned is that true strength lies in moving and forward even when we don't have all the answers. I don't need to have all the answers right now. I just need to keep moving forward. And most importantly, I need to do it my way without worrying about what others expect or the image they try to impose on me. I know I still have a lot to learn, but today I can say with absolute certainty, I'm happier now because I've learned to prioritize myself. I've learned that to be happy, I don't need the validation of others. I don't need to sacrifice myself in silence. I deserve to be treated with respect, genuine love, and above all, dignity. And as painful as it was to get here, I know that without that pain, I would never have found the peace I have today. I'm writing this for anyone reading this who feels lost or powerless to change. I know how difficult it is to make the decision to move on, to walk away from what hurts you. But I can guarantee that by doing so, you'll find a stronger version of yourself. A version that doesn't need anyone's approval to be happy. No matter what you've been through or what you're still going through, believe me, you have the ability to start over. Don't let fear or guilt hold you back. Your life is yours, and you have the power to choose the direction you want to take. I, Paulo, have finally learned that even amidst chaos, there is always the possibility of renewal, of leaving behind what no longer serves me and building a new story, one that is truer, more my own. Every day, I feel stronger and more capable of facing whatever comes, knowing that my happiness is in my hands and that I will never again allow it to depend on anyone but myself. I am the author of my own story, and the best chapter, without a doubt, is the one I'm writing now.